morning, this is Rav Shlomo Furst here, Yeshiva Tsama Nafshi, our first year here in learning Pirkei Avos. Yeshiva Nafshi is located in Yerushalayim Kodesh, not too far from the base Knesset, in the base Knesset of Chanukah Yeshiva. It's not too far from the central bus station, so you're welcome to come and join us by walking, taking your bus, driving. If you're coming to Coast Lords, please, when you fly into Eretz Yisrael to see your friends and Eretz Kadosha, please stop in and join us in our shir. We'd love to have you participate. We're learning Pirkei Avos, the first parak. The Nafshi Knesset Gadol told us three things. The last of the three things that we should make a sayag with Torah. And we're going to go into a little bit of we were discussing yesterday, the first Mishnah in Brachos, which is an example of how Chazal stepped in and made fences around the Torah. And as the Mishnah says there, in order to keep us from doing Averos. That's the whole purpose of what Chazal have been doing generation after generation, to protect us from being over any transgressions which are from the Torah. So let's just review the Mishnah in Brachos, which is the seventh point here on the sheet. It's Mishnah Maseches Brachos, and then we'll go down to the last two which we started yesterday. Yeah, would like to read?
ממתי קוראים את שמע בערבית? בשעה שכהנים נכנסים לחול לתרומתם עד סוף השמרת הראשונה, דברי רבי אלעזר. וחכמים אומרים עד חצות. רבן גמליאל אומר עד שיעלה עמוד השחר. מעשה שבאו בניו מבית המשתה ואמרו לו לא קרינו את שמע. אמר להם אם לא עלה עמוד השחר חייבים אתם לקרוץ ולא זו בלבד אלא כל מה שאומרים חכמים עד חצות מצוותם עד שיעלה עמוד השחר.
So we have there, right, that's the statement of Rabbi Gamliel. And the other is saying that Chazal, becoming a majority opinion, made a sayag, made a fence that even though in fact we have until Omid Shachar, we have until the end of the night to say Kriya Shema. The Chachamim stepped in and said, you really, in fact, we're going to limit that time till half the night, till midnight, and so it's Laila. And that's in order the person shouldn't be over and perhaps not say Kriya Shema at all. See a little bit more about this soon. Okay?
ודרך ערבים ועברים מצוותם עד השחר וחייבים אתם לקרוץ ולא זו בלבד אלו כל מה שאמרו חכמים עד חצות מצוותם עד שיעלה עמוד השחר עד שיעלה עמוד השחר וכל נחלים ליום אחד מצוותם עד שיעלו עמוד השחר.
That's in terms of korbanos. Any korbanos which have to be eaten one day, right? So their mitzvah is until Omid Shachar, and then afterwards it'll turn to mitzvah. Nevertheless, we say, right?
וכן למה אמרו החכמים עד חצות כדי להרחיק אדם מן העבירה.
That's the whole purpose of saying Tilkat Sois, making the get as a sayag is to keep us away from doing Averos.
That's what he asked the learning from Mishnah, he asked him, like 2 months ago. I said, well, you have to go to, I said, you will learn in the first class, we'll learn in the second class. I said, over here is Alacha, and over there, we're doing Sayagim, we learn all the time, Mishnah Mishalim. He's doing after Sayagim on what he's learning. So that's right, that's right. Well, this is right. So he asked him a few months ago. What do you have to learn Mesilat Yesharim? Maybe we don't have to learn this. Maybe we have to just Mesilat Yesharim.
Well, okay, I'll tell you that when Rabbi Yisrael Salater developed the system of learning Musar in the Yeshivas, there were a lot of objections to it. It wasn't accepted automatically and without resistance. The reason being like this. Listen, the Sefer Mesilat Yesharim was written by Rechayim Moshe Lazato 300 years ago, more or less. Okay, the other Sifrei Musa, which we, for example, Shai Tshuva, Rabbeinu Yonah, which is really a Sefer Halach, it's Shai Tshuva, it's talking about Tshuva, it's really a Sefer Halach, but it's learned by us as more like a Sefer Musa. or Chassidikim. These were written by Rishonim, which were written could be even 1,000 years ago. Right? What were they basically? Compendiums, collections of the forceful statements of Musar, which you found throughout the Gemara, basically. Midrashim as well, but throughout Chazal. So they concentrated all these statements into one volume, right? Rather than having to learn through all of Shas, which could take a good long time, and also to instill it in our hearts over a period of time. If you run just occurring intermediately through your understanding of Shas, so it doesn't have a chance to dwell in your heart and your mind clearly and enough times that it becomes part of you. So what Rav Yisrael Salanter basically did was that he said, listen, when we were on a higher level and we were learning Gemara in the proper way and we had enough time to learn Gemara in the full way that it's supposed to be learned. So basically, you got everything you needed from the Gemara, right? From the Gemara. However, because we have this process I discussed a few weeks ago, Yeridis Adoros, the generations get less and less in terms of their ability to learn fully and properly, right? So the Yeridis Adoros, this generational decline of hearts and minds in terms of our approach to Torah, causes us to have a weakness in our understanding and a weakness in our memory and a weakness in our ability to instill those things that we're learning into our hearts and minds. So therefore, Rabbi Yosef Salanter said we need to have a separate time in our yeshivas where people will sit and learn Musar. They'll learn a sefer, or they'll pick something that they know from the Gemara themselves, which is particularly relevant to themselves, and they'll spend time going on. And basically, the process of learning Musar is twofold. One is that a person learns it be'in, he learns it, he goes into the thoughts, the statements of Chazal, and he tries to understand it in its full implications. And then he goes and he repeats it time and time again to himself, and many times to instill it into his heart and mind. So we needed at that point, about 200 years or so ago, the Yosef Salanter said we need to have in yeshivas a separate time of study for this Musar. And that was objected to. They said it's Bittul Torah. You sit and learn the Gemara, you learn the Gemara, and you'll get what you need from the Gemara, and you'll improve from what you learn in the Gemara.
Not issue, because they don't learn a lot of Musar, just a little.
Yeah, right. But look, the downside I mentioned, you have to become a.
You have to learn how to be a mensch.
Yeah. So if you know a lot of Gemara and you don't know how to be a mensch, so you're in big trouble.
It's like, what's the point?
Yeah, that's the point, right? More than years.
It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. So there was a lot of resistance, but in general it's been accepted now, because the analogy was made like when you had let's say breads. The breads of wheat, the regular white bread you get these days is not they have to fortify it with things, and it doesn't have that much to it to begin with, right? More the processing, right? So if you're eating food which is not giving you any nutrition, you have to take vitamins, right? So if your Gemara that you're learning is not giving you your spiritual...
Moshe Rabbeinu started all this thing. There wasn't the same what he gave us. Not enough.
The Chumash, and that's about blood. Originally, you learn. I tell you the truth. If you learn Chumash with Rashi based with the Chumash together, you'll get a lot of what you really need. But that's not enough just to be Marva Sedra with Shlomo Furst, Targum and Rashi. You have to spend a little bit of time on it, right? But look, everything that you learn has an effect on how and what you're doing. Right? The Gemara has a question. What's greater? Torah is greater or Maisa? Doing right or learning is greater. So the Gemara, the discussion decides that learning is greater. Gadol limud mevidi Maisa. It's great. It's greater. It's more excellent. There's more excellence in the learning because that's going to bring you to doing. That'll bring you to doing. So most
how? If you're always learning 24/7, how's it going to bring you to do anything besides continuing to learn?
No, okay, so you have to mavatul Torah. If you have a mitzvah of various. No, the halacha is you're learning, right? Oisa b'mitzvah, the general rule is oisa b'mitzvah, patim in a mitzvah. You're involved in the mitzvah, right? You're exempt from another mitzvah, right? However, if it's a mitzvah of various, it's a mitzvah which is going to pass by and you'll not have the opportunity to do it, number one. And let's say it's a mitzvah that's not, no one else can do that mitzvah except you. Like let's say, putting on tefillin. I'll sit and learn. I have no time, and so you won't put on tefillin. No, you can't say that, because first of all, the mitzvah of various, if the day passes and you don't put on tefillin, you lost the mitzvah, number one. Second of all, no one else can do it for you, right? But if there are mitzvahs that other people can do, right? So, if you can learn, another person can do the mitzvah, so you sit and learn and let the other person do the mitzvah, right? But, true, all your learning is al manas la'asos. All your learning is on condition that you should do, to fulfill, right? Hashem wants you to sit in the sukkah, He wants you to listen to shofar, He wants to eat matzah, right? And all the things that He wants you to wash your hands in the morning, right? He wants you to come to davening. All these things Hashem wants you to do. Last week we just left off, we'll go back to it after we learned Hilchos Purim and Hilchos Pesach. We'll a little bit have a chance to learn that as well. But at the end, when we come back after Pesach, we'll pick up where we left off. That who's pater from tefillah. So we learned Rav Shimon ben Yochai, they're pater from tefillah. Right? They're pater from Shmon Esrei. They don't have to say Shmon Esrei because they're learning all the time. Right? Kriya Shema they have to say because that's a mitzvah d'oraisa. Right? But we'll be going back to that. So they in fact were pater because they had all the benefits of what prayer gives a person from their learning.
What about the Hasidic story of the Rebbe with his father and son sitting together learning, and the baby's crying in the other room, and the son is just learning, the baby's crying, and finally the father gets up and goes and takes care of the baby, comes back to the son and says, "Son, if all your Torah learning is keeping you from the fact that your baby's crying, then you're not learning Torah properly." Or whatever it is he said.
Right.
That's
So he learned something from that. He learned that no matter how much he learned, he still has to be open to the world. That's what he had a lesson. So that was his lesson. His lesson was that no matter how he has to learn, now you know you have to have you're open to the world.
Okay.
And he became the Rebbe, right? He was I don't know which one, the third or the fourth, and he was one of the Lubavitch Rebbe's. It was the father of the next one. He became a Rebbe in the end, so that was a tremendous lesson that he learned to be for a Rebbe.
Okay.
You need both, but yeah, I mean, look, it's not always easy, and it can be difficult to know when and what you have to do. Right? But that's the job that you have to try and
figure out.
Right, you have to try and figure out. You know, that is the beginning of Mitzvah Shishran. What is my obligation in my world? What do I have to do every single minute of my day? What am I obligated? What is my obligation at this very point in time, in this situation? That's what you got. That's what we shouldn't give us such a brain. That's what it's supposed to be used for.
So, my understanding, we're supposed to sit and we're supposed to learn, and we do it every day and we do it every week. You know what I mean? And eventually, after years and years, we'll learn the things that we're supposed to learn and be able to do how we're supposed to do. I don't have another 100 years to learn.
That's not your job.
I need to know more than
That's
just
not your
going
job.
day after. I want to know more. I can't.
Right.
There's two ways to do that. You don't know if you have a car. In the car, you listen to all different shiurim, so you have knowledge broad-based, and then you learn the basics, what you're learning now. When Pirkei Avos says it's not for you to finish the job, it's for you to do the job, not to finish the job. Your job is not to worry what you have to get. Your job is to go through life now and do whatever you can now.
So I should be reading Mesilas Yesharim
On your own
when
time.
I can.
That's right. So you can do these things on your time.
Okay. Right.
I'm a person that has to be locked up, so I can only listen to shiurim in the car. So I spend a lot of money in gas, because if I'm home I know I can't do it. So I drive around as much as I can to listen to shiurim. That's how I do it. Or I come to this class here, which I can, and I try to have a few at night. But that's on my job. My chance came, I missed it, now I can do whatever I can do now. That's all I have to worry about.
No one misses the chance. I mean, but there's always So again, you have to realize what's our goal. What is our goal, right? Now, some people have a goal, and it's within their reach and their ability, and if they don't achieve it, they'll be held responsible, right, to finish all of Shas. Okay, so you have people with that's not in their realm of possibilities so much, right? They can put great forth efforts and maybe achieve that, but they may not. That's why it's important to have a Rebbe to confer and to say, hey, knowing who and what and I am, my background, my beginnings, my situation right now, like what are my goals? Right? What are my goals? First of all, you'll basically need to know what to do. You need to know what to do. So that in essence, the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch is very good for that. You're not going to go too far wrong from Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, right? And that can be learned on a regular basis, and
It's an
in a
English
short
with
time,
commentary.
a person can can more or less know, he's on the road, right? He's basically on the road. He knows what to do, knows what to stay away from, right? And then there's his personality, like what does he have to work on in his personality, right? And there's things in terms of what should I be doing in terms of trying to learn? How much should I be learning? What are the things I should be learning? What should I concentrate on? What can I, make successes in doing? And how can I feel good about what I'm learning? And how can I, learn and also, if an opportunity comes to teach to other people too, it's also important. Whatever we learn, we should try and learn properly enough that if an opportunity comes, we can at least speak it over and discuss it with someone else.
Okay.
Right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's where I am. I gotta have a discussion with my Rebbe.
Yeah, and,
What am I supposed to be doing now?
Yeah, sure. I remember when I first came to Israel as a bacher. So the discussion was about like a Rebbe. Why should a person listen to a Rebbe? Why should he have a Rebbe? Why should he listen to a Rebbe? So he says, the person was guiding me. He said, look, if you have someone who's older than you, and he's wiser than you, and he has your best interests in mind, right? He's trying to help you. So, why shouldn't you listen to him? How can you go wrong? So that's basically, you get someone who's older, wiser, who's trying to help you as best as he possibly can. And, we'll see that. We'll get to that in August. You should make yourself a Rav. Get yourself because in the Stalik Minasaf, get yourself a Rav, get yourself a Rebbe, and that removes doubts in your life. This is what I'm doing. I'm following this way, this advice. You can always make mid-course adjustments. You can always, nothing's written permanently in stone here. You can make mid-course adjustments and make changes if necessary, and that's when you get on your feet. Yeah. Right. So I was mentioning the. So what does it mean that the Gedol Torah Shemevi Yidli Ma'aser? So great is Torah, excellent is Torah that it brings to doing. How does it bring to doing? So many of them, of course, explain that. Well, look, if you want to know how to put on tefillin, you learn the laws of tefillin. You know how to put on tefillin. You want to know you have to put a fence on your roof, you have to put a mic on your roof. So you learn the halachas which are relevant to putting fences on roofs. You learn to do that. You want to stay away from lending with interest, so you learn the halachas of lending with rivers, or not lending with rivers. So then you know what to do. But the Maharal objects to that explanation, because he says if that's the explanation, no inherent essence, in essence, Torah is not any greater than any other way of base subject of knowledge. Meaning, if a person wants to become a carpenter, so learn how to become a carpenter, become a carpenter. He wants to learn how to fix teeth, he'll learn to become a dentist and fix teeth. Right? But Torah, Maharal is not like that at all. When a person becomes a dentist, he's a dentist. He can't become a carpenter. When a person's a carpenter, he can't apply what he knows about working with wood to working with teeth. It will never transfer from one area to the next. Right? However, when a person's learning about mezuzahs, he wants to learn about mezuzahs, the fact that he's learning about mezuzahs is impinging upon his neshama, on his soul, on his spiritual essence, and that's going to give him a siyata d'shmaya to fulfill all of Torah kula, every aspect of Torah in a higher and greater way. So the learning of Torah not just teaches you what you need to know about what you're actually learning about, but it also gives you a preparation for doing everything in the Torah in a greater and more perfect way, even though we may not have really learned about it in essence and in fact at this point yet. But you're prepared to be able to learn all of and fulfill all of Torah in a much better way than anything else. I mean, in terms of being a person's a dentist, that's going to prepare him, in essence, to become a carpenter or a lawyer.
So Torah encompasses all logic, right? Encompasses everything.
Of course. Kadosh Baruch Hu used the Torah to create the world, so everything in the world is based on the Torah. Yeah. Okay, I guess we'll have to stop here for the next year, Mitzvah Shem.